Alex Moore is whatever she is at any given moment in time. Uh, I've been an actor like nearly all of my life. Both my parents are actors.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Movement Radio. I am Chip Hazard,
I'm Talon Williams.
And I'm Roger Sierra.
and today we are joined by voice actress extraordinaire, Alex Moore. Alex, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
So, for those who don't know, who is Alex Moore?
Alex Moore is whatever she is at any given moment in time. Uh, I've been an actor like nearly all of my life. Both my parents are actors. The family joke is I played Hamlet's half sister in utero. My mom was a very pregnant Gertrude in a show, so really changed the dynamic of why Gertrude had to marry Claudius so quickly.
You were born for this.
I was born. I was literally born in this, molded by it. But no, I grew up in the theater. It's kind of been my whole life. I'm right now. I'm a big nerd. I love anime and video games and knitting and cosplay and all sorts of crazy stuff. Uh, yeah, I'm me. I'm Alex, and Alex is all.
That's
Alex
great.
sounds like a wonderfully fun person.
Yeah.
I mean, more is part of my name, right? You're always going to get more with more.
That's
Yeah.
right.
There you go.
That's my Tiger Beat, splash page. We love more.
Awesome.
And
That's
the
good.
more the merrier, the old saying.
Ah,
And many more, all that stuff. Yeah. All right. So
yeah.
Chip asked the question, who he is. I'm going to ask the question, who was before you got into the acting. Even like you just said yourself, your mother was, pregnant with you while she was performing. So
Mhm.
what was it like growing up in a house that you were surrounded by theater your whole life, basically? What was that like growing up?
Just flat out, it was very difficult. My parents were two actors, and I grew up very poor with my two sisters. Because acting pays a lot. Psych, it does not. Um, and so it was a lot of imagination games. There was always something being crafted at the house. Our Halloween costumes were always this side of extra. We though we grew up kind of poor, we never felt poor in family. I know that's a really cheesy thing to say, and it's like, oh, trauma makes you stronger. No, it just makes you better to cope with it. Um, it's there were some very hard times. I'm not going to lie about it. I'll stay off the deep cuts on this, but there were some really hard times, and I really saw how difficult it was, to be an actor. Like how far do you go into your craft? How long? What is that red line? When does one need to put something aside for a second? To make sure your kids have food, your kids have a roof over their heads. Um, and my parents did their best. I'm not saying they were bad at it. I'm not saying they were great at it. I love them dearly. But they're people, they're human, and choices were made. Uh, I looking back, I'm like, oh, that was a weird way to deal with that. And my therapist and I have lots of talks about that. But we still talk. We're still good. I just see them in a different light. Like now that I'm a grown woman with a husband of my own now. I don't have kids, but like I understand some of the choices they made. I'm not saying I would do the same things, but I see what they were trying to do. Now I know it's kind of a downer thing to like start off with, but like our parents were very creative, and they never let us feel sidelined because we couldn't afford to go do something. Like we would play lots of games. My sister and I put on puppet shows. We would write our own little scripts. We would hold fashion shows with mom's closet of stuff. We'd play all sorts of games. We'd create board games, have fun little adventures. My mom would write little mystery scavenger hunts for us. It was a fun time. Like I said, there were times that weren't great, but it was the creativity that kept us afloat. I think that we were never just, woe is me, woe is me. It's like, okay, like looking back, it's like, okay, this is going to be great memory work for later. This is going to be a great thing to file away now. But yeah, it was like with all of that, as I realized that I wanted to get into acting, my parents straight out flat told me, it's like, you're going to be broke. Like, that's how it is. And I'm like, I think I'm okay with that. And they're like, okay, we warned you, but you're going to go to school for it. Like, and I was like, okay, that's fair. I didn't do like theater in high school or junior high. Like, I was very much in marching band. I was in ROTC. I just kind of stayed away from theater because I'm in Texas. And Texas really tried to make everything competitive, even the arts. We have what's here, UIL, one act. I guess you could kind of, for people in other places, I guess you could compare it to Destination Imagination or Odyssey of the Mind, if those are still programs that are happening.
I've heard of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't really want to do that because it's taking theater, stripping it down to 45 minutes in a child-friendly way. My husband, when I was in grad school and he was finishing his undergraduate work, he was substitute teaching at a local high school, and they did the last days of Judas Iscariot as a one act. And I looked over the script. It looked like a redacted CIA document. And I was like, nope, got that. Can't do this scene. And I was like, how are you doing this scene? It's going to be lights up. You're guilty. Lights down. And that's going to be it. It's like trying to play Sex in the City on TBS. It's like, and what can you keep in? But it's a thing. I didn't want to do that. So I didn't really start pursuing an education in theater until college. And I think that's different from a lot of voice actors that I know, because they just kind of, they went like jump in, or they did like YouTube first, or VTubers, and then became voice actors. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm not saying that's the incorrect path. I just took a more circuitous route to it. And I loved it. I love learning about acting methodologies, different ideologies of it. When I went to grad school, I have a master's degree in theater, and that's where I met my husband. And it was a program that was diametrically opposed to what I had learned. I came from a Stanislavskian program, which is very thinky acting, very what's called inside out. Like you take a memory that you attach, that you kind of, if you're in a scene, you're like, okay, this character is experiencing loss, or they're trying to process grief. And what you do as an actor is like, okay, let me think of a time I experienced that, or however the closest one can approximate it. And then you use that sense memory to put out into your character onto stage.
Okay.
And when I went to grad school, it was a very Meisner program. Meisner was part of the method, very film acting. Uh, and that's very kind of, uh, am I allowed to swear on this?
Oh yes, yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure. We call it the bullshit detector. Like when you're talking to somebody and you get into a scene and you're like, I don't believe a goddamn word you're saying. Like it feels very inauthentic.
Okay.
And it's like I don't believe you. I don't believe you. It's basically convincing yourself to pass a lie detector test. Um, and I didn't like that. I was grading bumping heads with one of my professors the entire semester for it because he like studied at the left knee of Meisner on this, and I was just like, this is stupid. You're stupid. The whole thing is stupid. But I did it, and but the thing was that I did learn. I did learn what I didn't like. And there were some bits that were like, okay, this is an interesting exercise. I don't enjoy the process of it, but how can I shape it to my process? And that's really the best way I think baby actors can experience uh, acting lessons. I know a lot of people listen. And it's like, well, how do I become a voice actor? How do I do this? Who do I study with? Study with everybody. Take the classes you can get. Uh, there are methods that are better than others. There are methods that you might think are better than others. Um, the what you need to take away from them is what works best for you. What can you learn? What can you glean? What can you coalesce to make your most authentic performance? And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. Is it's like, well, I studied with so and so. Why am I not getting parts? And it's like, because you only studied with one person. You need to learn a different facet of it. You need to learn a way that you don't like, because that way you learn what you do like. That way you learn why you don't like it. What's the grind on that? Why is that not clicking for you? And then you kind of have to do a little like interior homework on yourself. It's like, okay, if I don't like this, but I understand why other people like it, how can I fashion that to suit my purposes? And that's really the best thing I can tell people. It's like, how do I be a voice actor? Learn to act. Period.
I mean, that makes perfect sense.
It's literally in the name.
Yes. Was there ever a point in your childhood where you didn't want to be an actor?
I don't think so. I feel like everyone grows up kind of, or I say everyone, most people grow up idolizing their parents. No matter they're Superman, they're Wonder Woman, and for a long time, they can do no wrong. Everything is right. They're the best person in the world, and you want to be exactly like them. And when you get older, you're like, okay, the shiny facade kind of comes off a little bit. Oh, okay, well, they work at a bank. They get to handle all the money. That's so cool. And you're just like, that sounds tedious. Oh my God. But uh, having parents who were actors, it's like, I kind of won the metaphorical jackpot on that. I'm like, that is so cool. Oh my God. And my friends were like, oh, that's pretty cool. Your parents are actors. Why do you suck? And I was like, I don't know.
Well, damn.
Kids are mean, man. They'll tell you exactly what they think. But yeah, it's like it never seemed not cool to me. Um, it was the hard part about being an adult outside of being an actor that made me not want to be an actor. Like I talked about at the top of this. I kind of won the lottery on that. It's like, career day. My mom was an apartment manager or a DJ or something, and they're like, "Whoa, do you know whatever do you know this singer?" And she's like, "No, but I know their music real well." And I was like, "My mom's on the radio," and it was just that was cool. A lot of people think it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
So did you do any like film or commercials or anything before you got into voice acting?
Yeah, well, I mean, both my parents were DJs, so like my sisters and I would go into the booth every once in a while and like help them do like background for commercials and stuff. And we were like 5 or 6 or something. They just needed like, background of like kids playing in the park or something. So mom would be sitting in at the control booth and we'd be in front of the microphone. And she's like, okay, now what I need you to do is I need you to play a red light, green light. And we're like, oh, okay. So we play, and like, when you're a kid, you're like, purple light, or you moved. It's like, I'm a race car. And you're like, mom, stop the tape. She's like, okay, I need you to play red light, green light. And I was like, that's how you play red light, green light. You got to make it up. And she's like, not for this commercial. And I was like, oh, okay. So we play it, and we're like, I win, let's play it again. And she's like, I need you to play it a little longer than that. Okay. So like, I'm getting my first direction, like as a child. It's like, okay, that was a great way to play it. Let's try something else. Okay, that was fun. I love the energy of it. Let's just make it a little bit longer so we can fill this whole space with it. Okay, cool. And so that was like my first kind of acting lessons were my mom and dad doing stuff like that. Mom had a Girl Scout troop for my little sister.
Okay.
And there's always like big pageants and stuff like World Day and stuff for the girls, for the parents to come see, stuff like that. And her Girl Scout troop would always, I was the older sister, I was so cool, all of 8 years old. Ooh. And so they'd sing Alex the Camel at me instead of like Alice the Camel. Alex the camel has 5 humps, and then she loses more and more humps or whatever. So like I'd be like, oh guys, and so they sing it at me as loud as they could. And so mom wrote a little mini play about Alex the camel, and I was like, I want to be in it, and she's like, no, this is for the Girl Scout troop, and I'm sitting the day of this performance. Like they had girls like playing like the Sphinx or a pharaoh or something like that, as Alex goes through Egypt to find something. And the girl who was supposed to be Alex the camel, or like at least the head of it, there were like 4 little girls playing the humps, and one of them would go away, Right. And so the girl playing head Alex got sick. So or couldn't do it for some reason. So I had to step in and be Alex the camel. And I was like, yeah, and I already knew all the lines because I was helping Andy learn her lines. And my mom was like, hey, can you read the scene? She'd like use me for like feedback and like table work. And I'm like, okay, how is Alex feeling right now? And just doing like really thinky bits. And so I got to play the part, and I was like, awesome, I'm the star of my own show. And I can't believe I thought of that. It's just been years since I've thought of this. Oh my God. Core memory unlocked.
I say we're happy that we helped you unlock a memory there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Did you have any aspirations to maybe go to Broadway or anything like that?
I think everyone does at some point. Like, it's like, I'm going to be on Broadway. I'm going to Hollywood. I'm going to win an Oscar. I'm going to yada, 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 yada. Still kind of do. Yeah. But I'm not going to be like, chorus line kicking myself in the forehead anytime soon. Those days are behind me. I'm not that flexible anymore. But I think it's fun to have those dreams. I don't think it's realistic. I kind of was tempered very early in my education about that. Not through my parents or anything, but I mean like through college and stuff. It's if you're trying to do the whole Broadway, the Hollywood scene, why are you in college? Why are you here and not there already? And I was like, okay, that is fair. And I was like, because I don't feel like I'm ready for it yet. Then you're not ready for it yet. That's fine. And I do have friends who are on both coasts doing theater and film, and it's amazing. And am I jealous? A little bit, but they put in the work. Like that's all they did was like eat, sleep, breathe it. And I don't say life got in the way, but I realized that what I can do, um, because I have a little bit more of an education in it, that I understand the technical side, I understand the costuming side, the set design, all of that. I understand the administrative side of it, like, actually getting the money together to put on shows, which is the hard part. Um,
Yes.
right? Yeah, it's the money that makes it happen. You can find actors anywhere. It's finding the producers. Uh, and I think people don't want to think about that. They're like, I have the heart and the spirit of a dancer, and damn it, I'm gonna make it. And I was like, you're gonna get as far as the bus stop there. Now what? And if you don't have the network already in place, like I said, I've got friends there, on in LA and New York. The ones that were successful had people already there to help them. It's not you can't, like, get your little straw hat and NYC your way out there. Even her story, she's sleeping at the YMCA the first night she's there because she's got nowhere to be. You really need to make sure that you are properly secure in that. And it's wonderful to, like, just throw caution to the wind, make a wish, and try. The likelihood of success is very, very small. Even if you have the safety net and networking already in place, the rate of success is only incrementally higher. Again, I'm being a drag on it, but it's like that's just the numbers. That's just the way it works. There's a glut of people in those industries, and it's a lot of people who are willing to work for free, who don't understand how things work, who think that just because they've got a great smile and can, hit a 5, 6, 7, 8, that they're going to be headlining in 2 weeks or something. You got to deal with crazy rent. You got to deal with crazy people. You got to deal with people who are incredibly predatory, of people who don't know what to do. And you hear, that's always the horror story. And when you can't make that deadline that you've given yourself, in 6 months, in a year, in 5 years, and you don't make it, you feel like a failure. And I think setting yourself that goal as the end all be all is really shooting yourself in the foot. It's like, I'm gonna be a star. Okay, do you know how to sew costumes? Do you know how to hang lights? Because that's where you're gonna get your money while you're trying to be an actor. Do you know how to be a set tech? Do you know how to be a PA on set? Work with a catering company. People love catering on set. You always get talked to, and everyone's so happy to see you. It's doing the sloggy work that reminds you that there's more to the industry than just being the face on stage, on screen. That was something my parents really instilled in me. You're going to learn to do everything else, because the acting jobs, you shoot your shot and then you got to wait for the next one, right? But right. If you're backstage, you've always got a show. They're always going to need someone backstage. There's always going to need to be people running crew. Does it pay a lot? No, but you're working more. And
well, that makes perfect sense, though.
In a life in theater, what's the goal? To thrive, but sometimes you need the survive first. And that's what a lot of people miss. They think that, why am I not famous yet? I don't know. They just haven't wanted you yet. But if you want a job, get on the tech. If you want a lot of work, be good at the tech.
That always helps.
It does a little
Absolutely.
bit.
Yeah.
So at what point did you find voiceover?
Well, like I said, my mom was a DJ. So I always kind of grew up with that in like the background radiation of my life. Or both my parents were DJs at one point. Uh, and my mom was a pack a day smoker, and she had that really, really velvety voice. It's like the all new light hits 92.7 KB Corpus Christi. And thank you. The first voices you learn to imitate are your parents, because those are the ones that are always around you. Everyone can exactly say their own name, or you can three name yourself as one of your parents. Like, when you're in trouble, you get the first, middle, last name. You can
Uh-huh.
say it exactly like your mom or your dad. Because it's like, that's when you feel the most emphasis on you. So again, growing up in a theater family and all of this, uh, reading stories to each other, like bedtime stories. Mom and dad always did voices to delineate the characters. My parents had this thing about reading Lord of the Rings to us, or The Hobbit. Like, my favorite bedtime story was The Hobbit, and this was the early 90s. So it was like, way before the Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
thing. It's like we had like the Glenn Yarborough animated The Hobbit, where John Hurt was Smaug, and it would be like we would my mom recorded it the one day that like Disney was free. Back then it used to be like a premium channel, and they do like a 2 week drive for you to buy that channel on cable, and they unlock it. So my mom was like, oh, record it. So like we always had it. Was always kind of a little blurry, and like the scroll at the bottom with like, call your provider. But like I grew up on that, and so listening to the stories, and my dad would read us Lord of the Rings. My dad read us Dune, which is really appropriate for like small children. It puts us to sleep like crazy, though. I'll tell
Yeah.
you.
So it works.
It works. I'll tell you, it works as a bedtime story.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's like I don't have the character chart. I can't follow who this is, and but yeah, reading the stories, playing the games, coming up with the characters. My sister and I would do little radio shows and stuff like that. So our stuffed animals would be doing the news or something. So we learned how to do little voices for them and stuff like that. And my mom said that she always wanted to be a Disney villain. That would have, if she could, she would die happy if she could be the next Maleficent. And I would be like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. And so I kind of always grew up with that. And when I was in junior high and the beginning of high school, anime started coming into the scene. It was still pretty underground. It wasn't the mainstream thing it is today. I'm talking like late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to tell people that my godmother, my fairy god Ralph, was a voice actor in an anime. And we were the coolest kids in junior high for a split second.
Which anime was it?
Blue Seed, Sharon Shaughnessy. Name drop.
Okay.
My fairy god Ralph. She was the very throaty scientist with the purple hair. I can't do it. But yeah, that was her. She and my mom were like best friends in Houston. And I haven't really gotten to talk to her now that I've started doing anime, but like I've spoken with other voice actors at panels like from that generation. They're like, oh yeah, I remember Sharon. And I was like, she's my godmother. And they're like, oh cool, I don't care. And me. Yeah, no one gives a shit. But yeah, so when I got into like when I started getting the itch, I guess, or the ability to do voice acting, I had just come off of a tour. I was doing food play, the importance of healthy eating habits for the K through 5 community. I was on the Northeast tour. I did mostly the Northeastern United States. It was the first time I had ever been out of Texas. It was crazy. And I had a whole different set of allergies because I was not used to it. And it was through juggling. I learned how to juggle for this. And let me tell you, I wanted to start chain smoking just out of spite of how just hammering these kids with healthy eating, healthy eating. I'm gonna have a cheeseburger. Rare as humanly possible, as you are legally allowed to serve it. But yeah, so I came off that tour. My husband had just moved to Dallas, and I needed a job. I was trying to it was like coming home from the war. I was like, not to equivocate the intensity of that, but I was like, I had to learn how to be people again for a little bit. So he put me up with a job at a local car dealership. He did like IT work. And so I was just people were already mad at me before I even said hi, because I was about to ask them for $600 for the part in their car that just got fixed. So I was like, oh, okay. But as I got to, get to know the service drivers and the other cashiers and those people, I was the one who started, paging people. It's like, so-and-so to the service drive. Your car is ready. So-and-so to the service drive. And they're like, oh, wow, you should do like cartoons or something. You've got a great voice. And I was like, I know. I should. And then I remembered that Funimation was somewhere in the area. And back then they had an application or through their website or whatever. And I was like, screw it, I'll send an email. Bah, 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 bah. Here's my headshot. Here's my resume, see what happens. And I didn't even have a demo or anything. I just got this wild hair and I was like, YOLO, let's do it. And I got this form boilerplate letter back. Well, you need to be local to the DFW area. And I was like, well, I am. So you just let me know when. And they're like, all right, we'll let you know when we have our next casting call. And I was like, cool. Okay. Junior high me is super stoked right now. And 3 months later, I get an email about, hey, we're having a big cattle call audition. Please submit your name and what day you'd like to come in. And I was like, oh my God, I get to audition for Funimation. What? And I was like, yeah, oh my God. And on the day, here's Alex, brought up with a master's degree in theater, parents who are actors, dressed up real nice. I look good. I have my binder. I call it my Atta Girl folder. It's got my headshot, my resume, my music, just in case. Some scenes that I have, little letters and notes from backstage and people I've worked with and things that make me happy and remind me that I'm good at this. My Atta Girl. So I go in there. Here I am in my character shoes. My little 2-inch heel or whatever, looking very nice. And here are people sitting there in ratty cargo shorts and flip flops. And so, and I was like, I may have miscalculated. I was like, oh no, the vibe is wrong. And I get in there and I introduce myself. I'm like, hi, I'm Alex Moore. I'm at XYZ time or whatever. They're like, oh, okay, hi. Is this your first time here? I was like, yes, it is. And I was like, my hands are shaking. I'm like, how do you know? And they hand me this big binder of sides. The sides are for the uninitiated. They had a little character picture. They had the name of the character. And then just 5 or 6 lines that character says. And sometimes there's direction off to the side. It's in the heat of battle or really internally kind of concerned. It kind of gives you a little bit of color about how to say it. I was like, okay. It's they're like, all right, so just select 3. And when it's your turn, we'll get you in the booth. And I was like, all right, great. And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm here. I'm doing the thing. And people are just flipping through, whatever. Some people are scanning it or all this. Some people are taking pictures, whatever. You're not supposed to do that. So I was like, okay, all the training kicks in now. What do I do? What do I do? And so I was like, my whole thing is I have a very wide range. I think your voice is up here. And then I can be down here if I need to in this next second. All that acting. And so I decided that my 3 are going to be a high, middle, and low. I was like, this is the best way to show off my range. And I realized that that's how they're separated. There's like little girl, teenager, parents, robot, monster, little boy, teenage boy, blah, 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 you know. And I was like, all right, cool. So I selected some characters. And I was like, should I memorize these? And I was like, I started to try to. And I was like, this is way too much. Okay. I was like, this can't be part of the test. So I get in there, or they send me into the booth. I meet one of the directors, and I'm so sorry, I can't remember which one it was. I get in there, and I was like, and he's like, oh, you have a binder? Do you have a headshot and resume? I'm like, I certainly do, and pull those out for him. And he's like, oh, you have music, you sing? And absolutely not. No, I don't. I can carry a tune. I can't carry a show. I'm very honest about that. I will karaoke like a motherfucker, but don't ask me to, like, do carousel or something.
I feel you on that.
Look like, right? I was like, look, I have red hair. It's like, look like Ariel, sound like Ursula. It's just not what you want. But I can character sing. Just don't, ask me to be in an opera anytime soon. And I was like, and the answer for every actor is, yes, I can. So I was like, actor, yes. I will learn how to ride a horse later. Could you ride a horse? Probably. I haven't fallen up. That's not true. I did fall off a horse, but I was a kid. Scoot. So they put me in the booth, and there's a monitor. There are 2 monitors up. And they're like, okay, so which characters did you select? And they pull up, they have like the whole like PDF of the sides. And I was like, oh, I wrote them down. Hold on. And so they're like, oh, okay, you remember. And I was like, yes, I did. So I go through the list with them, and they're like, okay, cool. So they pull up the first one, and they're like, all right, whenever you're ready, just say your name, slate, say your name, say the character, and go. So I do, and I do the first side, and they're like, all right, cool. So can you switch it up on these? I really like this energy, but can we put just a little bit more stank on it? And I was like, yeah, sure, okay. What does that mean? I don't know. Let's find out. So changing it up. And part of this is finding out if I'm directable. Do I understand the lingo? Am I willing to forego my own ego and make someone else's choice? Which is a thing a lot of people have a thing about. They're like, the way I did it was perfect. What are you talking about? You're wrong, director. I gave you the proper way. You need to fix everything else. No, don't do that. So I go through that, and we do that with the other 2 sides. My interp, great. Take the direction, another interp. I was like, okay, great. And he's like, can you do a little boy voice? I feel like you have a little bit more gravel in your voice than a lot of women that come in. I was like, well, yeah, I guess I could try. And they're like, awesome. So they pull up the little boy sides, and these are ones I didn't even look at. And they're like, did you see one that you liked? And I was like, you know what? If you want to hear it, show me something. Pull up something you want to do, that you want me to do. And they're like, oh, okay. So they just, I don't think it was like Luffy, but it was something in that kind of, energy zone. And so I did that, and I'm doing a little gravelly voice, and, kind of thing. And they're like, okay, cool. Can you make his balls a little bigger? And I was like, all right, so give him a little bit right here. Okay. He's like, awesome, go with that. And so I did it again, and they're like, cool. Okay, well, thank you so much. We'll let you know. And those are like, the knife in the heart to any actor. We'll let you know. And I was like, okay, well, thank you so much for letting me come in. This is a bucket list item for me. This was great. Thank you so much. So don't hear anything for another month.
Oh.
Yeah. But okay, so what I found out later, like in the future, I find out that this is the nerd cull This is every person who's ever tried to be a voice actor. These cattle call auditions. They go on for 2 weeks, and they basically set like the fledgling directors on these because they're like, we don't want to deal with it. It's for 2 weeks. It's all these nerds who have, the delusions of being a voice actor, and basically just whittling down this list and maybe finding a diamond in the rough. So a month later, I get an email. It's like, hey, will you come in and audition for this show? And I was like, yeah, try not to hit the roof while I'm at work. And I was like, well, yes, thank you so much. What time works best? Blah, 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 regards, Alex Moore. And regards that weren't even warmest. And so they gave me a time or whatever. And I go in to read these parts. And it's, I don't even remember what it was, but it was a lot of busty girls. It was very much a harem show. And I was like, all right, cool. So I read that. All right, great. Thank you so much. We'll be in touch. Okay, thank you. And then a month later, I get an email back saying, congratulations, you're going to be the narrator on Date A Live. And that is how I got my first role. So it just kind of went from there.
Stressful.
That's pretty awesome.
It was so stressful. It's still stressful.
I bet.
I bet.
But yeah, that's the process. That's the level of commitment and mental power and just physical pain one puts themselves through. And any audition is like, I can't do this. Oh my God, what am I doing? And then you get in there like, oh yeah, hey, blah, blah, blah. You do the thing, you're like, okay, we'll be in touch. Thank you so much. You go, you get a milkshake, you cry in your car for a little bit, and then you have to wait.
The waiting game is probably the worst, right? Just waiting for that email. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, the milkshake thing is something that I learned from a professor in my undergraduate program. You're leaving your house to go get a milkshake. There is an audition in the way.
Pretty good
So,
way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, all right, I did the audition. Time to get a milkshake. And that's how it is. You got to make it so mundane, or not mundane, but it is a checklist item to do. Now you have to put in all the work, as you can't go through the motions of it. It's got to be the thing you got to do and concentrate on. And then you go get that milkshake. You're like, check. All right. Me time.
Yeah. What flavor?
Chocolate.
I was just going to say favorite.
No cherries, so I'm allergic.
Oh, sorry about that.
Okay.
They smell terrible to me.
Okay, fair enough.
I completely understand. My wife is allergic to citrus, so she can't have lemons, limes, or oranges. Yeah.
Oh, no. Limes are great.
And she loves them. So, so of your vocal range, since you have a very broad vocal range, for you, which is the voice that is the hardest to sustain over a longer recording session?
Good question. I don't think it's a matter of pitch. I think it's a matter of stress. The roles that you go into that are very talky, the very cerebral shows, where it's we're talking about sci-fi, and then it's just it goes into a bunch of techno babble that it's I can't watch Evangelion anymore because I'm I still don't understand what the hell you're talking about. It's and then it becomes supernatural, and I'm just okay, save me, space Jesus, I guess. I don't know what's happening. Go, child soldiers. And
I said the same thing. I said the same thing when I watched. I'm because everyone told me, it's oh, this is such a great show. I'm okay, I don't see what the hype. And then halfway through the first season, I'm they didn't teach me that in Sunday school. What is this?
Yeah, it's okay, so I watched Evangelion, the old school one, when I was in high school, with my Vampire the Masquerade tabletop party. And I was I don't get this. And then I was you know what? I'm in college now. I'm going to watch it. Still don't get it. Grad school. I'm introducing my husband to it, or my then boyfriend. Nope, still don't get it. And then I was do I need to get high to understand this? And it's still don't understand it, but I was like, the great mysteries of life. Who knows? Anyway, I'm digressing. It's the level of stress on the voice, like the yelling, the sustained intensity of the voice. Like if you're doing a yelling, screaming Attack on Titan or One Piece, those are very exaggerated vocal patterns. And my second role was Lola on One Piece in the Thriller Bark arc. She's the warthog zombie captain.
Yes.
Yeah, go back and look at that. She asks everyone to marry her, and everyone says no. It's like, oh, that's the 623rd time I've been rejected. She has a crush on Nami because Nami pretends to be a boy. Whatever. And I was in the booth for 5 hours because I didn't know how to properly space out the time. It was like I was booked for like 30 hours for this gig, and it was my first, like, the narrator was off screen. I didn't have to worry about matching flaps or anything like that, so I could just kind of act. So this one I was kind of learning how to match flaps and be this big, larger than life character. And I was in the booth for 5 hours one day and just screaming and it fucked up my throat pretty bad. So I was very raw for a couple of days or whatever, and we retooled it a little bit. And after that, I started being a little bit more careful with how I spaced out my times on it. You really shouldn't do any longer than like 2 or 3 hours. Now with the simuldub thing, where it's like a new episode every week, when they get in Japan, we got to do it ourselves. So there's not a whole lot of time to like process on it.
Right.
But it's a shorter time frame. It's like if I'm only dealing with one 30-minute episode and my character's only got like a handful of lines or like less than 20, you can go a little harder on it. But like the days when we were just doing like a full DVD release of like 12, 13 episodes at a chunk, like it was a lot more stressful on the voice. I find that doing squealy voices, like doing the little girls and stuff like that, can be a little bit more stressful because you have to do and really kind of get up in that. Like you can like, if you like press your tongue on the hard palate of your mouth, and go into that denasal voice, it gets a lot more difficult to produce sound. But when you're down here, like for me, this is, I won't say this is my natural voice because obviously it's not. But when I first started, I was doing a lot of this voice and playing the moms and computers a lot. I kind of learned how to pitch up. A lot of people, they have to go the other way. They play the higher voices and come down. But because of my mom and playing moms all through college and stuff, I have very severe bone structure. So I look very mom. See, all the cheekbones, you can cut yourself. So I was always playing adults or like the mother-in-law kind of character. So I had to learn how to get a little higher and get into that range, because there aren't moms in every episode. There aren't moms in every anime series. But this voice is pretty much like universal. And I was like, okay, I need to make myself more marketable. So I started training myself to get up into those and sustain it longer, to be able to activate that voice a little easier and more quickly. I think the best way to figure out how to do that is figure out if you can laugh naturally in that pitch, and if you can sing in it. Because singing is the same thing. You'll see a lot of voice actors are incredible singers because we've learned how to modulate. We've learned where the notes sit in the instrument. So what you can tell who the singers are in any cast, because they're able to mold their their voice amazing uh, into amazing shapes.
Awesome.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, let's shift gears for a little bit and let's talk about
Okay.
um your interests outside of voice acting, acting, and all that.
Okay.
Yeah, you did
Uh,
say that you played video games.
Oh yeah. I'm doing another run at Baldur's Gate right now. I haven't played a dirge run yet, but I can't be the bad guy. I'm going to. I'm gonna suck it up and be a villain the next go around. Um, that's what I'm playing right now. I've also got, and I know the series gets a lot of hate, but I'm going to stand by it. Assassin's Creed.
I love
That's my
Assassin's
vibe.
Creed.
Yep.
Like
Uh,
I
I,
go ahead, please.
I was just say I have the Assassin's Creed logo tattooed on my leg.
Do you? Oh my god, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
I need to get it
Uh,
retouched up, but yeah.
I I fell in love with the series, I guess, at Assassin's Creed 2. I didn't play the first one, just because it was like, oh, okay, but then I got into it and I was like, oh shit, this is fun. And then I got really into the lore of it. And then when Black Flag came out and like they started to like take the Abstergo view of it and like manipulating the world at large into doing the work for them, uh, like you could come in and out of the animus and be like a real person. You weren't you weren't piloting a protagonist. You weren't Desmond Miles at that point. Um, so being able to like, okay, and then have the movie, and the movie was total crap, but I love it. It's a guilty pleasure watch for me, Michael Fassbender. And then like I would sit there and read all of the emails back and forth. I'd sit there and listen to all the audio tapes and all of that. And my husband's like, "Can you just play the game? I just want to see you stab people." Okay. And I'm like, "No. There are things happening." He's like, "No, they're not. You're reading." And so, and I was like, "Well, I'm sorry." But yeah, with the last one that came out, was that Mirage?
Yes.
Valhalla. Or, no, Mirage. Yeah,
No,
you're right.
Mirage.
You're right.
Mirage.
You're right, Mirage.
Having it completely stripped back down, and kind of starting back at where the game started, the series started, because it did get kind of overinflated. It got kind of bloated with all the collectibles and the little findies and stuff like that. I did enjoy it. I don't like the level locking of it. It's like you should probably be a level 12 to access this place, and then it just completely shuts you out.
Yeah.
I was fine with like this area not accessible in this memory. I was like, okay, I accepted that, like as a conceit of the game, of the world. But like at some point it just got a little over bloated. I loved Odyssey because I loved the sailing from Black Flag. And I love playing as Cassandra and like just doing all the crazy stuff and like going around to all the islands. And I was like, I love this game. My husband's like, this is so boring. But he loved Mirage. He's ADD as well. So he's just like, I just want to fight. I just want to fight. Skyrim. I love the big expansive games. The sandbox. Love me some sandbox. What else am I playing? Frostpunk 2.
Okay.
I haven't gotten too far on that one. I love city builders. That one's really difficult. It's a complete, well, not complete departure, but like the mechanics from the first game have shifted quite a bit. And I've been watching him play like over his shoulder. And I'm just like, oh my god, I don't understand this mechanic anymore. So I'm gonna have to like sit down and actually do it myself. But yeah, that's where I am on video games right now. I used to stream, but I just kind of fell out of love with it.
Okay.
I used to do like the SNES games, all the ROMs and stuff like that. But yeah, it's like you got to be in the right mood for it. You got to have the taste to do it. And I just kind of like, I think there was just everyone was on Twitch at that point. I was just like, I don't need to do that. I'll just play games because I want to play the games.
Yeah. So what about some games that you liked growing up?
Uh, the first games we had was I had the NES. That was baby's first game. My parents did have a ColecoVision. I remember.
Hey, yes,
Hey, uh,
with the
or
phone
was it a?
controller.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, and you like punching the buttons into my little baby hands.
Yeah,
Like it was
yeah.
crazy. I
It
remember
was
video
up, eight
poker.
is down, four is left, six is right, five is the A button or X button, whatever system you play. Yeah, it was, and then the joystick was on top. It wasn't even on the left side. You had to do
Yeah.
this as you play it. Yeah,
You're like, I learned 10 key at like, 3 years old. I was like,
yeah,
who does this?
yeah. I played
But
a lot of Burger Time on the
I couldn't
ColecoVision.
tell.
Yeah,
But yeah, we had the NES. The game that came with it was Final Fantasy, the OG Final Fantasy.
yes.
Um, and then we got Super Mario Brothers 3. I couldn't play that game for a very long time, like because it gave me panic attacks. Because anytime Mario died, I was like, I killed him. Oh my god. And like I got really attached, like in a weird way to him. I was like, I can't kill this poor man. I'm so sorry. I can't do it. And like there was like a year I refused to play Mario Brothers 3 just because I couldn't handle it anymore. Like I felt morally obligated to this poor little group of pixels for some reason. I don't know what it was, but I've gotten past that. I still can't play the bad guy in games, but I'm working on it.
Okay.
I love being the bad
What?
guy.
Yeah.
I feel like it shuts you out of so much story if you're the bad guy. Because if you kill an NPC, like it's like, well, there's a whole quest that's gone that I can't do now, and it's like I'm missing. I'm gonna lose XP if I don't do it. Or it's like you have to do the quest and then kill them. And I don't know. It's just too much like resource management for me. I was like, I can't do. I don't have the bandwidth to be the bad guy. It's like I got to do all the numbers. It's like, well, I can't level this one. I can't do this one, and then that's gonna shut me out of this. And I got to start tracking all the quests and all this. Got that Pepe Silva conspiracy board behind me. Of all right, if I do this and XYZ, all makes sense.
Yeah. Other than
Yeah.
video games, what else do you get into?
Um, Costume, cosplay.
Okay.
Uh, I again, it's the theater upbringing. I learned how to do costumes very young and make them out of strange things. Um,
What's your most favorite cosplay you've done so far?
ooh, okay. I'm going to say it's a couple's costume that the husbando and I did. We did the Jolly Holiday Mary Poppins and Bert from the Julie Andrews Mary Poppins.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I cut up my wedding dress for that. The base of that dress is my wedding dress.
Wow.
Wow.
Interesting. Yeah.
If you go on my website, I'm pretty sure that I have pictures of that. I'll make sure I post them on there just in case. But yeah, it was my husband suggested it. I was like, "Hey, con season's coming up. What do you want to do?" And he's like, "Bert and Mary Poppins." And I was like, "Okay." And he's like, "But I want the striped coat." And I was like, "Oh, so you want to Jolly Holiday?" And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay, challenge accepted." You can't find the pattern that's in the movie anymore because Disney copyrighted it. Uh,
Uh,
if you look at Disney World, if you see the Bert running around, it's candy cane stripes. It's red and white. But the one in the movie is red, white, and orange. Or sorry, red, yellow, orange, and white.
you
Um,
you do have the photos on your website. I'm looking at them now. That's
oh,
amazing.
okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
that's amazing. I'm sorry.
Shoot it in the chat because my computer's down. Shoot it in the chat.
Please do. Um, but yeah, so I decided that I was going to make his coat first because that was going to be the hardest part for me, or at least what I thought. So what I did was I got some bias tape. If you go to like costume stores or whatever, they always have like these like pieces of ribbon that you do like hem folding or whatever. It's kind of to decorate the edge of a garment to make a ribbon or like just a little bit of color on something. Uh, and so what I did is I got a bunch of that and I sewed down all of these stripes onto the pattern pieces of his jacket, stitched those on, and then put it together. And I had to make sure that everything matched up. And that was the hard part. The dress was like, I built my wedding dress myself. My mom built her wedding dress, so it's kind of a thing.
Oh, okay.
It's a tradition. And I cut that up and I made it a little bigger just in case Alex got a little bigger later on. Alex did. 20 pounds later. But yeah, it's still very basic. I mean, I can dress it up again, or like, just fix it up some. Probably needs a little work. It's been 10 years since I've worn it. Not that long because we just celebrated our 9th anniversary. So at least 9 years.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. We got married on Halloween. So very recent. Year 10, let's do it. But yeah, that was the most fun I had creating a thing. Because it's first of all an iconic couple costume. Like you see that and you're like, oh, they're in it. These two are down to clown in cosplay. And then with the added story of the wedding dress, people are like, oh my God. But first of all, it's horror from all the aunties. They're like, you can have your wedding dress. And I was like, it only fit me. Like, who else is gonna wear this? But I was like, I'm not too terribly attached to clothing. Like, well, that one I guess now, but that way I can wear it again. People will take pictures of me and tell me I'm pretty, just like on my wedding. So
yeah. What's the strangest cosplay you've ever created?
Strangest. Okay, so cosplay and Halloween kind of go hand in hand for me. Because, we we dressed up as the Monarch and Dr. Mrs. the Monarch from the Venture Brothers.
Yeah.
I don't have that picture on there. But like I learned how to craft armor for him. I did the Kamui cosplay armor set and just kind of like figured out how to do that. I had never done armor before. And I had to get really comfortable with a really deep V leotard and like sew everything in and tape everything down and just be really okay with myself. Everyone else, like, I don't know how to look at my butt from the other side. That's on y'all. And only a handful of people saw it because it was right before COVID.
Oh.
And like I have pictures of it. I tried to fix it for another Halloween party, but I had gained weight since then. So like the leotard just was not leotarding. So I'll have to completely recreate that. But yeah, I did the design on him. I built the goatee and the eyebrows for him on his face. I got some crepe hair and latex. And I'm like, all right, we'll go to town. He's like, okay, I want to watch TV. Can you stop? I was like, no, this is us for the next 3 hours, honey. And he's like, no. And I was like, it's going to look awesome. I swear to God. And then I was at a show. I was at a show on Halloween night or whatever the big theater kid Halloween party was. And he sent me a picture of him in costume and he looked amazing. The problem was he didn't get a dance belt, which is, for those of you who don't know, it's basically a jock strap for dancers without the armor bit. It's just so you tuck and nothing pops out when you're in leggings, Well, I was like, you need to get a dance belt. You need to get a dance belt for this. And he said, oh yeah, I'll figure it out. He never ordered one. So he ends up going to Academy and just getting a full cup. And so that then was banging in that costume. I was like, oh my God, it's all I can see. It was like watching David Bowie in the Labyrinth. It was just like, hello, What is this? He was not wearing a dance belt either.
Yeah.
But I was like, that was my favorite off the wall costume, like cosplay.
Gotcha.
We've done like David Pumpkins and like one of the Skelly Boys and stuff like that. He looked, it was so funny.
Is there
stuff.
one that you want to do? Like, is there one that you are thinking about doing that maybe you got a vision for it or whatever, and then it's like, can I do this now? Like, is there one that you have in your mind that you have yet to try to create yet?
Oh, several. Like I have like designs on in my costume lab, which is next door to this room. I wanted like one of the first ones. I was like, oh, you know, what would be great, and just like one of those like manic moments of like, I could build that, right? Like it's hard. I wanted to do Zerg Queen Kerrigan from StarCraft 2,
Okay.
Queen of
Okay.
Knives, right? Like her bug form and like do like the crazy wings and they're like, huge or whatever. And I was like, if I got PVC pipe and learned how to work with latex and blah blah blah. And my husband's like, no, you're not going to do that. You are absolutely not going to do that. And I was like, I can do it. It's fine. Haven't done it yet. I want to do the Pink Diamonds costume from Moulin Rouge, where she does diamonds are her girl's best friend. Because I just like the glitter and I want to work with Marabou. I want the feathers, the tail that she has in that. It's very Ginger Rogers and I love it. Here for it. What was something else? I don't know. There's going to be something crazy. And third thing, I can't think of anything just off the top of my head, but those are like the two that I for real have plans for that I've priced out. I just haven't, had the wherewithal to start on those because it's like that's a lot of sequins. That's a lot of diamonds and rhinestones gluing. And yeah, I'm not really sure about the texture and like color matching. Color matching pink is really hard because you have to make sure you get the exact shade or it's going to be like too red or too orange or something. It's a whole thing.
Okay.
That makes
What
sense.
else? I don't know. Like I'm always envious of like Heidi Klum's Halloween costumes. She was 18 this year, and I was like, you can tell she knows she's pretty because she will choose the ugliest costumes ever, but she will own it. And I'm like, that's the confidence I want. It's like I'm gonna be ET and do this gross, disgusting thing. She was a worm last year or a couple years ago. I was like, that's baller. I know she's not creating them, but like the commitment to the bit is so respectable.
Right.
Right.
Well, Alex, we won't keep you too long. We know you're busy and everything. So if anybody wanted to follow you on social media, where would they go?
Um, Everything is very branded for me because I can't remember 400 handles and everything. So if you want to go on Twitter or X or whatever the hell it is now, and Instagram, it's going to be at Alex Moore Actor, all one word. Alex Moore Actor. It looks like Alex Moo Reactor, which I have been told. I need like a radioactive cow is my logo, the Moo Reactor.
That'd be cool.
Right?
Yeah.
And also my website is alexmooreactor.com. I'm not cool enough to be on TikTok. I might be too old for that, but I think if I do have one, it'll be the same name. I think I probably may have had like 3 videos on it or something. No idea.
Right. Okay. So without breaking any NDAs, what is something you got coming up in the future that you're excited to talk to people about?
I actually don't have anything that I'm working on right now. It used to be that, well, this year specifically, I do a series of plays here in the Dallas area with Pegasus Theater. Shout out Pegasus. The Living Black and White plays is this amazing theater company that they're all written by the co-owner, founder of the theater, Kurt Kleinman. this is very niche, 1930s, 1940s comedy murder mysteries. So if you think about like the Charlie Chan mysteries or the Nick and Nora, the Thin Man series, stuff like that, it's that kind of fast-paced narrative. Everyone talks like this, and it's all very transatlantic. See, and the cool part about it is that everything is in black and white. The set design, the costumes, the actors themselves. We have a patented makeup technique that puts us in black and white. So when we wear everything, we look like a living movie on stage.
Awesome.
People think
see
it's
that.
I was actually on the Today Show talking about it. That might also be on my website. I know pictures are on there from it.
I will definitely look that video up.
And the cool thing is at the end of the show for curtain call, as all the actors come out and take their bows, we introduce who we character we call the Lady in Red. And it had been Barbara Weinberger, Kurt Kleinman's wife, for a very long time. Now it's Stephanie Felton. And they come out like from one of the doors on the set, and they're in a beautiful red ball gown of some design. It's beautiful. And to show the audience that there is no magic filter they're looking through, that it's all live, and we are all actually in black and white. We call it the amazing color demonstration. And it will burn the retinas out of your skull if you're not careful. You're just like, oh my gosh, the shock of color.
So would you attest that to kind of what they did with the movie Sin City, where everything was in black and white except for like the blood, her lipstick, and her dress were all red?
No, because that was all done in post. It would be more like Pleasantville. I think that was Reese Witherspoon and Tobey Maguire.
Yes.
Like baby them. There are some scenes that are just desaturated film. It's all post. But there are some scenes that are all black and white, and you see the swipe of color or the sweep of black and white. That is all practical application. This is all practical application. Like, and there's one show, what is it? I think it's called The Color of Death. It takes place in Nazi Germany. Our trio of heroes are undercover to see this Nazi base. They have scientists working on something, and they want to shut down the project or something. And they go, and it turns out it's a time machine. And at the end of Act 1, someone is murdered, and the trio gets flung into the time machine, and it activates. And so Act 2, they are 50 years in the future in 1994. And it's this like ridiculous Technicolor. It's not like color as we have cinematic color now, but it's like that too orange, too violet, too pink.
Really saturated colors. Exactly.
And it's like, there are these very future costumes. It's like the way that the 1930s interpreted the year 2000, so it's that wonderful design, that retro futuristic feel, and this like weird color. And then they have to go back in time to fix everything. And so you go back to the black and white set, and you're just like, oh my God, it's amazing. And the actors in the future bit are in the same kind of Technicolor makeup, too orange. The greens are too green, stuff like that. The thing is, you have to figure out how to be able to light both. And that's an NDA I cannot break to this day. You only get initiated. You only find out how it's done if you're a member of the company.
Wow.
Okay.
And I've been working with them for 13 years. They were the first company to hire me, and they can't get rid of me in Dallas. But yeah, if you get the chance, look up pegasustheater.org. They unfortunately will not be doing the black and white this year. So first year in at least 13 that they haven't done it because of the venue and because of the cost. A lot of theaters in Dallas have really suffered because of COVID and just rising costs of venues and stuff. I mean, supply line jacked up a lot of people, set designers and costume designers. A lot of people or a lot of theaters just kind of are struggling to hold on. And for viewers and listeners, please go out and support your local artists.
Yes.
We only have art because people buy art. It can only continue with patronage, with belief, and with your love. I'm saying we as artists, we love doing what we do, and we love sharing it with you in any form: music, actual graphic art, theater art, video games, design in all sorts of forms. And if we can't afford to do it, it makes it the landscape dries up, and the world becomes a little less colorful, a little less fun. And COVID has really made a lot of people put that dream, that joy on hold, because we're still trying to survive instead of thrive, bringing it back. So please go out if you have local first Fridays, first Saturdays in your area. Go to the art markets, go to galleries, go see a play. Go see a play this weekend. Don't even have to know anyone in it. Go cheer them on. Costs are higher, yes, but that's because everything is more expensive. We want to do it. We want to bring it to you. You have to consume it. We're here because you're here. And that's the only way it works. So if you want more voice actors out there, if you want to meet us at conventions, if you want to listen to podcasts like this one, you gotta be out there. You gotta be a patron of the performers that are putting it out there. So please let us perform for you and show us that you care.
Yes. Well, Alex, we were once told that the greatest gift you can give another person is your time, because it is the one thing that you cannot get back. And we greatly appreciate you sharing your time with us this evening.
Of course. Thank you so much, all of you, for having me here. And it was a blast. I love talking about me and the stuff I love to do. So thank you for letting me rant and rave at you for a little while.
It's all right. We're used to it by now, so it's all right. But we do want to thank you for joining us. Exactly. Thank you for joining us. Also, if you want to hang out with us for just one more second while we do this outro real quick, to thank all of you guys for watching this video. We really hope you guys enjoyed it. Chip, Roger, anything you guys want to say before we bounce out here this evening?
As always, please do not leave without leaving a like, share, comment, and subscribe.
Go ahead, Roger.
And as always, thank you guys for the great support. I mean, without the support, we can't do stuff like this. That's what she said. Go support the arts everywhere that you guys go. So thank you guys so much.
Absolutely. And if you guys want to continue to support Movement Radio, check out streamlabs.com/Movement Radio /merch and go copy some merch. Alex, thank you once again for joining us. We really do appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. I'm Talon Williams.
I am Chip Hazard.
I'm Roger Sierra.
Alex Moore.
And this is Movement Radio.
God's plan.